Alright, so today I'm going to be tying this little sort of leech pattern that I've started tying recently. And I started tying this for like winter bass fishing and panfish in creeks and stuff, just for the winter bite. Usually where I fish, you want something sort of lighter colored and like flashier. And that seems to be a fair way to fish the winter in a lot of different areas. So I figured I'd make a video on this because I imagine it also works fairly well with trout. And I like this fly because it's super simple and looks pretty good. And like I was saying, it's really easy to tie. All you'll need is white marabou, some pearl crystal flash, and some ice dub. To start, I will be using just this little, I believe it's a size 8 or 10 hook, and I have a little cone head on it. And then I'm going to be using this lead wire for weight. To start, you're going to want probably, like, not too much wire. This will do plenty well. And then you want to start just further down on the hook and make nice touching wraps. And you can use the whole length of the wire and keep it a bit longer because the whole area that your body's on, it's not really going to hurt to have weight on, and it really just helps it sink quicker and have better action when you strip it faster. And then you want to jam that up into the cone head like so, and that should look something like this. Now from here, I usually start my thread right here, and then I trim it. And what you want to do next is bring this up with a few like longer wraps, just back and forth. And this will span the length of multiple wire wraps for each wrap you do until it's pretty securely put in place and won't slide apart. And then you want to get just a nice little thread base going on there. Now I want to bring my thread back to just around where the hook starts to bend. And I'm going to take my plume of marabou. And generally, you want to wet these. And I always keep just like a little, I have this empty pill container, and I have another one that I keep with water. And I use that to keep water to like wet marabou and stuff. Now, I usually measure it out to be just roughly 1.5 times the length of the hook. And then you just want to tie that down right in there like so. And I'll just take a couple wraps up, trim it right there, and cover it up. As it dries out, it'll fan out more, and you can sort of just force that quicker just by going through it a couple of times with your fingers like that. And I forgot to mention at the start of the video, but I'm using just a nice tan thread. And now you want to take your crystal flash, and I personally use about 3 strands per side. And when I'm using crystal flash, I always trim a lot more than I know I'm going to need, because it's just easier to trim it down shorter. And I just want it to be just reaching just a teeny bit past the marabou. Now I want to take a couple of wraps for it on this side, so it's positioned just nice and like that. Then take a couple wraps up through here, and then turn it around on the other side. Now I'm going to want to trim it just at about the same length as the other side. And now, if you watched my video on making a dubbing loop spinner, this is going to come in play. I'm going to take this, and I'm just going to make a nice little dubbing loop. I'm actually going to take a couple wraps up there because I'm pushing back on the marabou and flash. So I'm just going to take a bunch of wraps up here. This will just help cover up the marabou a bit more. Now I'm going to spin just a nice long dubbing loop like so. And take my dubbing loop spinner, and just put this little part that's pointing out right here and put it right between my dubbing loop and slide it down to the end. And then I want to bring my thread up as far as I can and start taking my eye stub. I'm using an almost gold to tan sort of color, and I think this looks really good with this. I imagine this would look good in like a like with darker colored marabou, like a red and black or even a red and white. But I'm just sticking with this for now because this is what I showed at the beginning of the video, and I just think it's a pretty good color scheme. So now I want to take my dubbing loop spinner and just spin it up a bunch of times like this. And then here I have this little comb, so I'm going to want to brush through it a couple of times, and this just sort of helps bring out the fibers even more. And you don't lose much when you go through this process. And then you will also, for this fly, I at least personally, hit it with the comb again once I have the body built up. Now you want to start wrapping and taking touching turns up on the fly. And it doesn't look great at first like this. However, once you just trim away the dubbing loop and start brushing at it, it begins to look quite a bit better. Now I'm going to take the comb again, and I'm just going to comb it back to sort of orient those eye stub fibers. And this also sort of helps give it the profile. It takes out some of those loose pieces. And I just want to take that at every possible angle on the fly to get out the loose pieces. And sort of pull some of those free. And then just bring it backwards to sort of orient those the right way. Now, I'm going to take a good bit of wraps with my thread, because I just want to build like just a little section of thread up by the collar. And from here, I'm about good to whip finish. So I'm going to take my whip finisher, give it a bunch of turns in there. And this fly is now complete and ready to be fished. I recommend fishing this fly just by stripping it, like really fast in short bursts, like 6 inches about. And this, I imagine you could jig this fly a little, like tie it on a jigged hook, or even just give it a more like aggressive, fast and twitchy jigging action while fishing it. And I imagine it'd be quite effective that way. Some other color combos I'd recommend trying with this are, like I said earlier, red and white, and sort of an olive color would be pretty good with the bronze cone head, or just adapt it to any other colors of cone heads you have. And yeah, that's about all I've got to say for this video. So thanks for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, just leave a like, and feel free to comment any of your thoughts on this video or ideas for some of my future videos. Thank you for watching.